We're live. Hey, Dan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How was your weekend?
My weekend was okay. I worked the weekend. I heard you had a fabulous weekend.
I did. Was at the Freedom 250 Grand Prix in Washington, D.C.
Another Indy race?
Another Indy race. I mean, they're close by, so you got to go to as many Indy races as you possibly can.
Very true. Very true. and this one, tickets were free, were they?
Free by lottery system.
Yeah.
So, which was really fascinating how they did it. They had two sections. They had the stars section, and then they had the stripes sections. The stripe section was the infield, so anywhere inside the track. You could go a little bit on the outside track. But then the stars were like only the left side of the track. And I felt bad for the people who got the stars. And I think for what it was great. But, you know, the limited amount of grandstands that they had was a little bit disappointing. I think that they could have put way more grandstands around the track and offered people more seating, because when I tell you it was a packed event, it was packed. Tons of people. They spared no expense on the show of the military planes flying over, and just a fantastic Grand Prix. I mean, it's not only iconic to drive around the Capitol Mall and with all the monuments in the background, but Kyle Kirkwood, Andretti with a triple win the last couple races.
Yeah. Now, I did watch some of the race, and that course looked really, really bumpy.
Really bumpy.
Now, there was a couple instances I thought it was pretty interesting. You know, they're pushing
Yep.
hard. They're trying to win. I think it was 6 laps left. They were on a yellow. Got released from the yellow. Green flag comes up. First corner. Someone's back in the wall, and it's back to yellow.
Someone's back in the wall.
But I mean, with pushing as hard as they were, the conditions of the course, it's hot. I would suspect that would happen like that when you're trying to win.
And it was a really long Grand Prix.
Well, 250, that's a long
time, and a pretty short track. So, you're doing laps and laps and laps, and I can't imagine that, you just lose your focus for one moment and someone's up on your inside or whatever, and you bump and have an accident. But I'm wearing my hat that I got at the Freedom 250, Santino Ferrucci hat. Pretty cool. Love Santino Ferrucci. He didn't do very well in the Grand Prix, but he had a cool car though, and I love the liveries of the Indy cars. It's all with American flag theme, or most of them did.
Oh, nice.
I thought that was really cool, and it was a lot of fun. I think what this brings as a free event, a lottery event, is new fans to the race. And then you bring a lot of new fans, and I think that's really cool.
I was just excited to see my guy, Will Power, get a podium again.
I mean, he's dominating recently.
Well, I wouldn't say dominating. I mean, he's been on the podium pretty regularly.
Yep.
But it's good to see. I'm glad to see that he's doing well.
Yeah, I saw a video of who is your racing Mount Rushmore.
Yeah?
Kyle Kirkwood said Will Power's on Mount Rushmore.
I would say so. I mean,
of all time, of all racers?
Well, not of all, but of the current generation of racers that are out there, I would say yeah.
Yeah,
because
I think Will Power's good.
With his career that he's had, yeah, I would say so.
Great career. I mean, to go from Penske to Andretti, that's a power move.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Power move. But no, it was good, and I think that, like I said, more grandstands would have been good. I think the viewing around the track was pretty good overall. There's a lot of space to just stand up against the fence and watch the race or walk around. I mean, like I said, it was crowded. So, if you're not there early, kind of, securing a spot either by the fence or in the stands, you're going to be 3 or 4 rows behind everybody. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a beauty to assigned seats, right? But overall, it was a great race. And it's cool. DC's awesome, easy to get around, beautiful city, good food.
You're the
good
only
atmosphere.
person I know that would say that it's easy to get around DC.
It wasn't that hard. I mean, the metro is pretty easy.
Metro's pretty easy, but if you're not going metro, and with all the closures that they had and everything else, I would say that it's probably a nightmare for commuting around the area.
Oh my gosh. If you're driving a car,
yeah,
it's a nightmare. Or I mean, the metro is really nice. And like the outskirts of DC, kind of more into Virginia, very nice. But yeah, I mean, speaking of, this is the conspiracy corner, and there's no bigger conspiracies than conspiracies that happen in DC, Dan. But what I will say is, this kind of year of the 250th birthday of America, DC and, the current administration has been putting a lot of effort into doing stuff in the area, right around the Capitol Mall. And I was kind of curious if this race was even going to be a big turnout, because some of the other things is just so politically driven, right? Which I think is kind of nonsense. But I was like, is anyone going to show up for this race? And man, I was impressed by how many. I mean, granted, right? I understand it was free, but they had a lot of people turn out. I'm curious if they were to ever do this again and they charged for tickets, $15, $30, whatever, would it be as big of a hit as it was?
Well,
maybe.
I mean, also too, like you said, if they charge for the race, more than likely they'll have more grandstands, and they'll have assigned seating
for sure.
Those other types of amenities that you'd have at a typical race.
Right, because it was the Penske Corporation that was paying for the whole thing, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, they were the ones who kind of funded everything, and then obviously they're not funding like the Secret Service being there or the National Guard, right? Like they're not funding those things, but those were all approved under Congress. So I learned all this, right? That was all approved under Congress for the 250th celebration activities.
Oh, nice.
So they funded that, no problem. So that was taxpayer dollars. That was a big thing. They were like, oh, this race is nonsense because it's taxpayer dollars. And actually a lot of it wasn't, right? Like all the promotion, everything was all done by the Penske Corporation or partners that were wanting to be a part of it. So got to see the president, which was kind of cool. He drove around the track.
Oh, that's right.
One time.
Yep. In the Beast.
In the Beast.
Yeah.
Thing does not go as fast as Indy cars.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at corners as well.
yeah. Take a wide turn,
really
right?
wide.
The bumps didn't really matter for the Beast. But no, it was really cool, and no, it was really, you don't see somebody take it away like that, like Kyle Kirkwood did. He really ran away with that race. I think Pelot was playing the long game and, holding out second place for a while. Then he got a yellow flag infringement. So he had to do a pit lane drive through. Yeah. And when that happens on a short track and a tight track like DC was, you're kind of doomed. Let's just be honest. I mean, unless you're vying for those top spots, passing was really difficult. So, yeah, other than that, I thought it was a great time. I think they should do it again. And I think they could learn a lot. You know what it reminded me of, Dan? The first year of Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah?
Kind of just, a lot of kind of bumps, right? Need to learn from it. But, I mean, if you look at Vegas now, they've figured out almost everything. People still complain about the traffic. But, I mean, that race has become way more smooth in the, kind of during that year than the first time it was around.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah, setups quicker. They learn more every time they do it. So,
right.
Yeah.
And they can adjust times. It's not, I think it's like from 10 to midnight now instead of midnight to 2 a.m.
Yeah, kind of like when we were there.
Yeah, that was wild. I remember us after the race were like, I am tired, because you start your day at like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then, which is really nice if you've never been to Vegas before, because then you can kind of tour around Vegas in the morning and slightly in the afternoon, and then go to the track. But it makes for a really long day.
Right. Well, our day, I mean, we started off at like 8, 9 o'clock, tooled around town, looking at cars, finding spots where all the specialty areas where Williams had their spot, Mercedes had their spot.
Yep.
And going around, and then, then we come back, maybe take a nap, and then go to the track.
That was the fun part about it, right? Is like the whole town was bumping F1, right? Like, it was all about Formula One. And so what we try to do, right, was try to find every car in one of the hotels, right? Because they had the display cars everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that was a lot of walking.
It was a lot of walking,
but it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. And then you're sitting the rest of the time for the races and stuff.
With layers and layers and hoodies and whatever else.
It was cold.
Dude, it was cold.
It was cold, and I remember people sitting around those the miniature fires that are
the heaters,
yeah, and it was really hard to get a spot to warm yourself. But free food if you're in the main grandstand, which was cool, which is a benefit in Vegas because food is so expensive there, and quite good food. I like the food.
It was good.
It was just kind of like carnival food.
Well, I mean,
like
to a point, they had burgers, but they also had tacos, and
so
yeah,
it was no. I thought that whole experience was great. So back to my point, I think it was very similar to how DC was. First race, never done it before.
Did they have food there?
They did. You had to buy it, and the lines were extremely long.
Really?
And to be honest, I think that's the hitch of the first race is like it seemed like they were way understaffed at the Grand Prix. And granted, right, this isn't a sponsored event. It's so Penske is probably pinching as many pennies as possible to not pay so much money for this event, and yet they were short on staff, so the lines were super long. But they said on Saturday by the end of the day they sold just under $1 million in merch.
Holy cow!
Isn't that insane? And IndyCar merch is actually pretty reasonable. It's not like Formula One where a T-shirt's $130.
Well, that kind of lets you know that there was a lot of new folks coming because usually people got their merch already.
Right.
Maybe they'll get something that was Freedom 250 or whatever else. But yeah, usually most everybody's got all their merch.
I'm interested to see the season opener next year in Florida and see if I don't know how they would know, but if anybody from Virginia is driving down to Florida to watch the first IndyCar race of the season.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the closest one. I'm trying to think if there's anyone that's maybe a little bit closer. But
Ohio might be a little closer.
So there's a lot of races available, right? And that's the beauty of IndyCars, that they're mostly stateside. So you can kind of go to a race and not have to break the bank like if you were to go to Formula One. Even in America, it's like you're shelling out $1,000 for a ticket, maybe. Right? Especially a seated ticket. Man, general admission might be a little bit less, but
not much
less.
Yeah.
So, but that brings us to a great part in the show where we want to thank our sponsors, Dan.
Sure. So, first sponsor, D&H Toys again, here in Shakopee, Minnesota, where we actually host the corner.
Yep.
And then your company.
Yep. My company is Formula Coffee Co. We make coffee for the race fans. If you want some coffee, go to formulacoffeeco.com, and we have just adjusted some of our prices. So our prices are a little bit lower than they were before, and now you can get a 2 or a 5 pound bag if you want to. So you can get more coffee instead of just the 12 ounces is very normal, but this might last you a week, whereas a 2 pound bag could probably last you a couple weeks. So, and a 5 pound bag even longer. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee, it'd go for the 5 pound bag. But also something I want to mention is that it is roasted and shipped to you on the same week. So you get really, really fresh coffee.
Nice.
But yeah. So with that, Dan, shall we talk a little bit about our predictions for the silly season before we go into Zandvoort?
Yeah, let's get into it because a lot of things happened over the last week where people just signed with the teams that they're already with.
Yep.
So Williams, Science signed, and Albin signed. They both signed, and then
back to Williams.
Yeah, back to Williams, and then the big one, Max accepted a renegotiated contract extension out to 2030 with Red Bull.
Oh my gosh, that was the shocker, in my opinion. I did not see that coming.
I figured that something might happen like this because he did this same thing before. He
did, and I don't know if it was a strategy that he had with his manager, his dad, right? His dad's his manager, right? Or does he have another manager?
I think his dad is helping him out. I don't know if he's his out and out manager.
Yeah, I wonder if it was to kind of jack the price up because there's the number that came out. What was the 80 million euros for him to re-sign? I think Red Bull, and I told you this the other day, I think they just handed him a blank check and was like,
it could have.
What does it take for you to re-sign with us?
And that could have been the ploy, right? Talk to the other teams to see what Red Bull's going to come back to you with.
Yeah, and jack up the price.
Well,
because
yeah,
you know the car, you don't have any competition for the number one seat, right? You're the best driver, arguably, on the grid. Red Bull has proven they can give you a good car, but their car currently isn't the best. I mean, for Max, it makes sense for, what he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they're willing to pay you whatever you want, why not?
Yeah. So the only one right now that's still up in the air is Alonso.
Alonso hasn't
announced
anything.
Yet. So if he comes back and says, yeah, I'm sticking around for another year, then most everything's locked.
Most everything will be locked. Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to think because, George hasn't re-signed yet, but we now assume that that's going to happen. Oscar has nowhere to go. Why would you leave McLaren?
Right.
So, obviously Lando's going to be where he's at. Yeah, it became way less of a silly season than we thought.
Right. Yeah, it's all of our, what ifs turned into what nots.
Yep. And really that kind of secures Checo's spot because where's Checo going to go?
True.
Unless Cadillac just doesn't want to sign him, but why would they do that?
Right. He wants to drive.
Yeah,
and
he does.
If he has a spot at Cadillac and he signs, why not?
Why not? I'm trying to think. I thought there was one more that could be a possibility, but yeah, everything's locked and loaded. Also, something that happened while we were last week before Zandvoort was that our good friend Yuki Tsunoda's back.
Yes, one race.
For one,
multiple
could
races.
Be multiple races.
It depends on how Hadger's hand heals.
That's right. And I thought that was really exciting. I want you to hear your thoughts, Dan, about him being put in the Racing Bull seat rather than the Red Bull seat.
I was just super curious about that because he is the Red Bull backup driver.
Yep.
So you would assume if Hadger's out, they would go with the Red Bull backup driver to fill the Red Bull car. But they didn't. They brought help me out here. I'm blanking.
They brought Liam Lawson into the Red Bull.
They brought Liam Lawson up to drive the Red Bull.
Yep.
And put Tsunoda into the Racing Bulls. And I thought that was very strange. But, gives Lawson another chance in the big team.
Yep.
See how he does. And he did really, really well.
He did well.
So does that mean that the way that they tuned the car this year is not as finicky to play around with as it has been in the past? And that the second driver, other than Max, can actually do well?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But also Tsunoda did well in the Racing Bulls. Now, here's my thought. I don't think that Tsunoda did as well as what Lawson can do in a Red Bull or Racing Bulls car.
Yep.
So I don't know if that was a good trade-off. I think that Lawson knows that Racing Bull car very well. Mm-hmm. And him and Lindblad have been just storming up the ranks in those cars.
Yeah.
So why would you want to not keep your consistency with that and move Lawson up to Red Bull?
Yeah, we've talked about that before, right? We've talked about how that Racing Bulls team, why would they want to change anything at the moment?
Yeah.
Like, keep those drivers in the cars, and as they gain more maturity, they're going to be great drivers. They're already proving it. They're not in a weird, rotating door, which a lot of times either Racing Bulls or the Red Bull team had, right? Where it's just, you're just rotating through drivers, destroying their confidence in some form or fashion. And so I feel like the Red Bull teams are on a steady pace right now.
Yeah.
Because Isaac's doing great too.
Right. The only thing I could think of why they might have put Tsunoda down in the Racing Bulls is that they didn't want to risk putting him into the Red Bull car and perform poorly. Mm-hmm. They would rather try to keep the points up for the Red Bull team with a driver that's been driving the whole season.
Yep.
Rather than lose a whole bunch of points with a driver coming in.
And I kind of heard the rumor being that they didn't want to put Yuki in the Red Bull car because he's never driven one of these new, the new regulation of cars. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought that doesn't really make sense because Yuki Tsunoda, as a reserve driver, his duties are to do simulator work and do, kind of help develop the car in the background. And so he would have experience, at least simulator wise, driving these cars. So it's not like he doesn't know how the buttons work or how the deployment works or anything. Like, he understands that very well, which shows now, right, in the Racing Bulls team. I think it just makes sense that they brought Liam back, because part of me feels like, and this is just me, part of me feels like Red Bull is like, we kind of did him dirty by only giving him 2 races. So let's give him another shot. Even though I don't think it was anybody in the current team's decision to take Lawson and kick him out of the big Red Bull team. Those people have moved on to greener pastures, right?
Right.
And this team, who are the residuals or whatever was left of the Red Bull team, were like, yeah, we're going to put Liam back up, give him a try. Also, the current, I'm blanking on his name, but the current Red Bull team principal was the Racing Bulls team principal before, so he likes Liam, so he want to bring Liam back.
Well, that could be a big factor.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you have good relationships like that.
Right.
Give him another chance in a big top team. If he starts to do really well, then, who knows what Liam's future holds.
Right. Yep.
I think overall the Red Bull has a good lineup, and I don't know why they would want to change unless a top dog wanted to come to Red Bull, like Lewis Hamilton or.
Well, I don't even know if they would really think about bringing in a Lewis Hamilton if he was available.
Yeah, I don't think they would either. Why would they?
I
mean, they got Max, they got great drivers on the come up. You think about Lewis Hamilton, you're thinking maybe he only has
1 or 2 more seasons.
1 or 2 more seasons, maybe a little bit more.
Well, yeah, but it all depends on if he's still having fun, if he likes to.
That's
what likes the racing anymore.
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
He could just at some point, because it was last year. Last year he was not having fun,
No.
And it was really questionable. If there was going to be some sort of him getting let go, or if he was going to quit.
Yeah.
But he came back. And then he's really got a resurgence, and I think he's going to be around for a few more years. But it all depends on that one season that really
just sucks.
Tough. Yeah.
And I think he wants to win his 8th. I think once he wins his 8th, if he does, that will probably be when he will leave. I think you want to hit that, right? That's like his last milestone that he needs to hit.
Well, he was really showing that he wanted to get up there and get points and get into the mix this race at Zandvoort.
They did. Okay, so should we dive into Zandvoort then?
Yeah, let's, because it's a good transition.
It is.
Because Lewis was really pushing. He wanted to win.
Oh, man.
Hard. He wanted to win.
He did. And he was showing it over the radio, and even the announcers said that, Lewis doesn't show his anger like that very often. He was not happy with Charles not listening to team orders.
Right. He could have gotten
a podium at least.
Podium. He could have.
Maybe P2.
Well, P3
for sure. Yes.
Because he could have the yellow flag at the end, virtual safety car, but he could have gotten by George. Before that virtual safety car, he was right at the cusp.
He really could have.
Yeah.
But he would have had a better chance if they just let him.
Yep,
loose.
let him go by. Yeah, a couple of laps earlier, he would have been by George.
Especially as a Ferrari fan, it's like the infighting. You're like, you just don't want to see it. You're like, no, please stop. Just set your ego aside a little bit. And I get racing drivers, right? They're all focused about themselves, but you gotta fight for the greater good here, because and this is the one thing that a couple years ago that I think McLaren did have right in their philosophy was, they told Lando that he's gonna need Oscar's help down the line. Really didn't turn out that way. But the idea is correct, right? Charles one day, if he's vying for a championship, is going to need Lewis Hamilton's help.
Yes.
So if Lewis Hamilton has more points than you and has a greater chance at the championship, especially this season, just let him go. I get it's one race. I get you want to do your best, but you got to play a team game here because one day when you're vying for the championship, which I think Charles will be someday, you're going to need your teammates' help. You're going to need Lewis's help. But if you start showing like this, it only creates a disaster in the future where we've seen it time and time and time again that if you don't have your teammates' help, it makes your life way harder.
Yes. So that's the key where Lewis needs to have things fall into place. The team strategy has to be spot on.
Yep.
The team has to be coagulated.
Yep.
Cohesive in one vision on where they want to go. They have to have no mistakes during pit stops anymore. Yep. And then that's the only way that he has a chance to get up there and get those points needed to take over first spot.
For sure. And as a Ferrari fan, I'm just like, please get the strategy right. Listen to your team because it throws out the strategy if you don't listen to your team.
Yes.
Just like how in that situation, I get that Charles knew what was happening, right? Because they asked him to pit. He knew what was happening, but he just didn't want to listen.
Yep.
Which is fine. I've heard that there's quite a bit of backlash online.
Really?
Calling for him to get fired, which is just absurd. But
for Charles to get fired?
Yes. Yeah.
That's never going to happen.
Multiple different, a lot of people saying that, which is just, it's stupid. It makes no sense.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Makes no sense at all.
But on the same note, I mean, we could go back and Mercedes had the same thing,
they
right?
Did.
They asked for George to let Kimi by.
Yes.
Now, George waited for a good opportunity, but he did. He let him by.
He did. And then he got kind of really close. Like it kind of left George susceptible for Lewis to catch him.
Right, because Kimi just took off, and you were gonna. I was thinking, why doesn't he just Kimi keep George close and pull him along?
Yep, to use his boost
to make sure that he definitely could get in a podium. And it got too close. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good battle all the way through.
It was
all the way through.
It was, and it was way more exciting than the sprint race. But to add on to the Mercedes point that you just had there, I think that either in Hungary or maybe even a race before, they set both the drivers down and just laid it out to them. It's like, George, we are going to prioritize Kimi for this championship. And there's going to be no more of this kind of fighting between you two on the racetrack. Because really in Hungary and here, you haven't seen them fighting like they were at the beginning of the season when George had a chance.
Right, but I also too, I mean, they listen to team orders.
They do.
They don't fight about it or ignore it or whatever else like some people do.
Mm-hmm.
If they get told this is what you want to do.
Sorry, I got that. I got that from you. So
they actually take those orders and go with them.
They do.
I mean, even when it was Lewis and Valtteri, to the most part, they listened to the orders and followed through.
I think Mercedes has just flashbacks of when Nico and Lewis Hamilton collided, and they said that we will never have that happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's made very clear to those drivers that when we give you an order, you obey.
Yes.
You do not argue. You do not fight it. You still hear the protests here and there, but usually they abide, which is a good thing. Which is what you need, right? You need that in your team. But then you get big names like Max Verstappen, and I don't think that he's listening to you if something's not going.
Well, he's already told his team before.
That was a on Monaco.
Was it Monaco?
Wait,
no.
Wait,
it was
no.
It was Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo. He's like,
don't ever ask me to do that again.
That was crazy. You just knew the team dynamics were that Max is king. and everybody else listens. Like,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line. You're like, holy cow. That was with Christian Horner in the team too.
Yes.
Which is insane. But they love Max. So I mean, who doesn't, right? If you have that guy in your team, you're automatically going to be a great team.
Right.
So speaking of Max, is another great transition. Lap 1 was very exciting.
It was. Now, I was surprised at how fast that track dried out.
It did. It dried out really quick.
Except for the final corner.
For that white line.
Yeah, and it caught two people going around.
Yep.
It got Max and it got Bortoleto.
I'm just shocked that Max didn't hit anybody else, because he hit the corner and then he came back across the track.
Right.
Which that's really scary.
And then right behind him was Bortoleto spinning.
Yep.
And he stayed. He actually spun and got control and went back down.
Yep.
But he almost got nailed by Nico.
And that's like the most optimal line, but I can totally see how you're thinking, okay, the track is dry, right? Like, it feels good. But you just dip that wheel a little bit too low, or maybe even into the grass a little bit.
Yeah.
And you lose that edge traction. And you're, especially, your weight, because you're turning, right? Your weight is on that tire. And you're just done. You're done.
And that's exactly what happened.
I watched that, and I was sitting in the grandstand to watch for the Freedom Grand Prix. And I remember watching on my screen, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what a dagger. Because Max Verstappen, this is also his
last home race.
His last home race. So it's like, he was going to vie for a win there. He was going to try, because he was P3. And to lose it out like that, it's just devastating. It's brutal. But thankfully, he's okay, because usually after those big accidents, you're kind of worried.
Right, because that was a big hit.
Really big hit. And thankfully, he was okay, which is really good. But that car was mangled.
Yep.
Mangled. Absolutely just destroyed. And it's good to see that, how safe these cars are these days.
Yes, absolutely.
And it makes watching racing just less strenuous and more of like, okay, it can really be about sport now rather than like life or death. Because back in the day.
Oh yeah, I mean
Indy 500.
Not even too long ago.
No.
People were getting injured and hurt and killed in accidents.
Yeah, and just to think about, I don't know, the thing about death around a track, right? Like, it's so ingrained in racing for so long, but and granted, it still happens today, way less. But the Indy 500, they would keep going, like when someone died, which is kind of insane to think about. But it's just like the cost that you bear when you're going that fast. And,
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's good that now it's way safer, and there's so much technology built into these cars that when you have an accident coming out of that corner at 170 miles an hour, you hit the wall, you can get out of the car and have very little damage to yourself. Yeah. I was worried about his hands, to be honest with you, because like Daniel a couple years ago.
Same track too.
Same track as well. So yeah. I'm always curious, like, at what point does the force have to be great enough to where it breaks the steering column? Because Daniel, I think that's what it didn't happen, right? He didn't hit it hard enough.
Well, what happened with Daniel is, your training is if you're going to go in, take your hands off
take your hands off the wheel.
And he didn't.
Right.
And it snapped, the steering wheel snapped fast after the tires hit. And that's what broke his hand.
That was a nasty, it was nasty to watch.
Right.
You could see how hard that steering wheel.
Yeah. I didn't see the in-camera for Max. I don't know if he still had his hands on the steering wheel when he went into the wall, but I'm suspecting he may not and pulled his hands away right before impact.
Or he didn't have his thumb in the hole completely. It was like out.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I saw was because he had his hands on the steering wheel, but it was like not in the thumb holes, because some of them have them in the thumb holes to get better grip, and then if it snaps like that, then your thumb gets caught. But he didn't. It didn't look like. And Max is like, Max knows very much what he's doing.
Yeah.
And probably can still keep his hands on the wheels, but knows that it's safe in some fashion or whatnot. But yeah, that was a crazy crash. And then So the teams kind of got settled into kind of going around the laps. But one of the things that I want to talk about is, even when Mercedes was in the lead, they weren't pulling away.
No, they did not have a power advantage like they used to.
Yeah.
McLaren was right on their tail. Mercedes was Ferrari was right there on their tail. So yeah, no more power advantage.
No.
Usually what it was is Kimi would get out front and he would just run away with it. But now, he could not get away from Lando. Lando kept on him, and then eventually got past him in a crazy move.
Oh, that was insane with the Ferrari there too.
Yeah, with the Ferrari.
I thought he was going to get both of them. And kind of like how Lewis Hamilton a couple of years where he goes, through goes Hamilton when he passed two people. I thought that was going to be through goes Lando, But wild. And let's talk about Lando for a little while here. Because I think we both were talking about how we felt Lando was really mature in this race.
Yeah.
Not only mature,
Patient.
but his start.
Yes. Last year, a lot of his starts, he'd get pole, and he'd take off on a start and lose out. First lap, lose it. This time, now he did lose it to Kimi on the second start.
Yeah.
But on the first start, he got a great start and got off and then stayed first place.
Yes, which was cool to see because I think he's been probably really working on that on his racecraft is the starts because he used to just have terrible starts. But it was good to see, just like how you just said, how patient he was during this race.
Yeah, he didn't try to push it. He didn't try to force it. He knew that the car had the pace to get there, and he just knocked off the time little by little until he found an opportunity and got past him.
I think he feels like there's less pressure on him this year, and I think that's where Lando thrives, of when there's less mental pressure. I think he's a racing driver, so he has pressure, external pressure all the time, like to drive and to do well. But there's less of this like expectation of him to win. And now he's walking into an era where it's like Max when he was winning his third championship. Where Max just, whenever someone was vying for it, like he just didn't care. He would go out there and qualify P12 and then win the race. Like it's just this confidence, right? And I think that's the beautiful thing about Lando winning the world championship is I think it's building this new kind of maturity to him, a new confidence of like, hey, I'm great at this. I've won already. I don't have to worry about it. I can now just do my best to drive the car and to win races and get on pole. Like his pole was so good. Like in Zandvoort, you have multiple teams who are just fantastic at like developing the car. They're fast, and you're still coming out and you're taking the lead, even though you had a rough start. I love it. I love McLaren's attitude to just continue to improve, just get better and better and better, and it doesn't take a long time for them. They're very quick to improve.
Right, and they also had a much better strategy here at Zandvoort.
Yes.
They followed their strategy well. Now, I'd have to admit, their pits were not that well. But they made up for it. I mean, the performance of the car made up for some of the mistakes they made in the pit.
For sure. And that team's been doing an amazing job with the development of the car.
Yeah.
And I think Mercedes is a little worried because I was reading something where they don't have any more money to work on the car.
Oh, they reached their cap,
for the development at least.
Okay.
And so they still can bring a few upgrades. They're still going to bring a few upgrades, but nothing like what McLaren or Ferrari have been able to bring. Just like huge upgrades, like weekend after weekend. And that might catch Mercedes out even next year because they're not learning as much for new little tweaks to the car. Whereas Ferrari and McLaren, started out not terrible cars. McLaren had more engine issues than kind of maybe kind of aerodynamics.
Yep.
But Ferrari's learning so much, and I think that they're positioning themselves to be a very top contender, 2027, 2028 coming forward. I mean, and they're not out of it this year either.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yep.
Is that they can still win not only the Drivers' Championship, it's going to be hard, but the Constructors' Cup, because
That's going to be hard too.
it's going to be hard, but George and Kimi have both crashed out and didn't finish on multiple races.
Very true.
So I need to look at where their points are standing right now, or if you guys do, put it in the comments. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, but let's talk about a team that did bring some upgrades and did very well. That was Aston Martin.
Aston Martin.
What about that, huh? First points?
Second points. I think.
Second, right. Second.
I think Alonso got some points at the beginning of the season.
Right, but that one I think was the near half the field was already out.
Right. Yeah, this was like a true showing of like what they could do.
Exactly.
And I think that was cool. And I think that that's maybe why we haven't really heard an announcement from Alonso yet. It's because if their team starts doing good and he starts doing okay, why would he want to quit?
Right. I mean, he's always enjoyed. I mean, you see him with a smile on his face when he gets done with races. Even if
I love Alonso.
Yeah, he loves it. Even if he does, okay, he still loves being behind the wheel and driving.
He does. And I think that if they could get it right for whatever reason and bring back kind of that 2023, 24 Alonso with the Aston Martin that was vying for podiums, I think you would see Alonso here for another year or two at least. And that's cool. I love Alonso and I love Aston Martin. I think Aston Martin needs to change their brand a little bit. It feels like they're just like the old guys.
Really?
A little bit.
Aston Martin, the old guys.
Like, it's just kind of like, it's Aston Martin.
Not Williams?
Nah, yeah, okay, Williams a little bit. But, like, it's not because Alonso is, like, older. That's not what I'm saying. But it doesn't feel like they're as, like, hip. William feels a little bit more hip.
Really?
I think so. Like, James Vowles comes out a little bit more hip. Like, he's cool and he's, like, open and transparent, and they signed Carlos Sainz and they have Albon, and they're signing cool partnerships. And then you have Aston Martin, who's kind of just like, it's green,
well,
doesn't mean I don't love you, Aston Martin. Do you think
it might be some of the attitude that maybe Lance and Alonso have from the beginning part of the season, where they were just not happy with the car and spoke out about it too?
Yep.
Whereas you think that could have kind of put a damper on it, and just the whole spirit of that team just kind of sunk a little bit.
For sure.
But it's starting to lift back up, especially if that's, if that's where the trajectory they're going is having this better car.
They have all the right things to be hip, They have all the right things. They got Adrian Newey, they got a lot of money, they got, So I think that they have all the right ingredients. It's just, they need to, when you start doing well, it brings a lot of more spirit, like you just said, into your team. Something I want to talk about, Dan, that I thought was really fascinating was a photographer caught Yuki Tsunoda's briefing notes. Did you see this?
No, I did not see that.
It was pretty interesting to see what was written on this page. It was like, at the top it said key points. I'm happy to be back driving. And like, it was like all written out for him, which is, granted, the team has to be so cohesive of like what the messaging is, especially for these drivers. But I thought it was interesting that was kind of exposed, and like photographer caught wind of,
interesting.
kind of what Yuki was supposed to say. Thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought the sprint race was a little dull.
It was a little dull.
It was a little like nothing really happened. It felt like
it was so fast. I mean, it went by so fast.
And it felt like the teams were kind of gaining data like a practice more so than a race, right? More so than trying to like fight for spots. Even though in 19 laps or 20 laps, something like that, like it's really hard to pass So you can't really build up for that, and there's no strategy with the pits. So it's kind of just them running around.
And 19 laps on a short track.
On a short track. Yeah, exactly.
A shorter track, not the smallest.
Right. And so it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, I think if Zandvoort was sticking around, I'll be honest, I think they'd be like, yeah, no sprint there next year.
So, yeah, I think they might have to change the course before they'd come back.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Widen it, make it a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit more conducive to passing.
For sure.
Because there's only really a couple of spots to pass.
You're right.
Now, there was some passing done on the short back straight, but that was, very few.
Yep.
The only passing really done was down the straight to turn 1.
Yeah, that's all there really is.
And
Unless you're Oscar Piastri.
Or Sonoda, who did that crazy
That's right.
that crazy pass.
Oh, yeah. So there's a few spots where it's like you could take opportunity, but it's really if you just catch somebody out.
Right.
Yeah, I think that you're right. But you know what, Dan? I just think about this. When you widen a track, how much money goes into that?
No, I know, but
it's got to be insane.
But let's bring it back to the Freedom 250 and look at how wide that course was.
Right.
And how much space those cars had.
Until you got to the corner.
Until you got to the corner, yes.
Yeah.
But they gave them huge amounts of room.
Oh, yeah. And in that back straight, you had lots of opportunity to pass. And that was cool to see, especially if you're close enough. It offered a lot of excitement. And did you know they didn't cut down a single tree?
Oh, that's good news.
For putting up that track.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Kind of blocked my view a little bit, but that's all right.
Tough luck.
Tough luck.
Trees
it's
need
only
love.
one. It's only going to happen once, probably. So, my view or the tree's life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been in the mall at the mall, and without those trees in the summertime, that mall is brutal. You need that shade.
You
Otherwise
definitely
you're
need it.
Die.
No, totally agree with you. And I'm very glad they didn't cut down any trees because, like you said, for the normal everyday attraction of the mall, yes, you need those trees because the shade offers a lot of help. And it's beautiful.
Yes.
It looks great. If the mall had no trees, can you imagine? It would look terrible. It would just be like this empty lot.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. It's not just an empty lot, but it would be less nice.
So one thing I did want to mention is I was disappointed at the Haas performance.
Yes. Well, we had
two DNFs.
2 DNFs. Yep. Unfortunate.
So we're hoping that Haas will do much better next race.
Yep.
We'll see how that goes.
So that brings us to next race, Dan. Monza.
Yes.
One of the biggest races, arguably, on the calendar. It's a great one. It's very fast. The Temple of Speed.
Yes. Well, they did do a change at corner 1 to.
That's right.
To help with the congestion that gets there during the start.
Yes.
So, but yes, speed. Yeah.
And there's a lot of excitement for this race, not only because Kimi's Italian, leading the championship, but Ferrari obviously is like this home race. It's a big one, though. So if they can win this one, it'll be important. It's a big one to win.
Now, with where we're at, I mean, everybody seems to be having good pace. Who's gonna come away with it? I mean, you got 4 teams that could vie for this one.
So we're getting into predictions now, Dan.
Kind of early for predictions.
A little early.
We got a week. It's not this weekend. It's next weekend.
Right. You're right. So we can just kind of talk about maybe a precursor to before we get into predictions. Obviously, next week we'll get into predictions. But I think that you're right. A lot of these teams have pace. It's going to be really exciting to see how some of the teams that are better in the high-speed straights, high-speed corners, compared to the slower speed. Ferrari, on the other hand, right now is better in the slower speed corners, but not as fast on the straights. Wow. McLaren
is flying,
and they're well rounded.
Well, it all depends too. I mean, it's car setup. What wings are they going to bring? What downforce effects are they going to bring for the front wing, back wing? All this you're going to play a key. How are they going to do the the dynamic aero.
Yep.
That's all going to play a factor in, who's going to be the fastest down the straight.
And I'm not sure. I haven't heard who's bringing upgrades this next race, but that will play a factor too of who's going to bring the right upgrade, especially if you're in one of these big teams. I think it's going to be interesting to see Red Bull vying again this because it'll be Max, but then it'll also be Liam. So Liam, kind of gets I don't want to say an easier out, but Monza is not known to be a very difficult track to race at because of, it's not very technical because a lot of very fast straights, you got to hit your braking and whatnot. But it'll be cool to see him take on a track that he's probably very familiar with, is an easier track, and he can really show kind of his talents in a Red Bull.
But around Monza, there is that corner that has the gravel pit.
Yep.
That a lot of people get into.
Yep.
Maybe put a couple tires in, and you lose a lot of time off of that. So there is that technical piece there that got to keep it into the track.
You got to be mindful of that.
Yes.
The gravel, I think it's very interesting, and I think it's a good thing that Formula One's introduced gravel that's way closer to the track now. Causes a little bit of issue with like red flags and stuff like that with when a lot of gravel gets put on the track, but it's cool. It makes the element a little bit more exciting because the drivers know that if you go into that gravel pit, you might get beached and you might not come out of it, especially if you're during the race. It's probably a pretty big deal.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Monza. I think there's a lot of excitement around it. There's just a lot of excitement around this second season. I think if you're new to racing or new to Formula One, now's the time to watch.
Yeah, the field has gotten much tighter.
Much tighter.
And even Alpine and Racing Bulls are even more competitive than what they have been.
They are.
And then now Audi's up there as well too.
That's right.
So all the way down to sixth place team, seventh place team, very competitive.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting from here on out.
And speaking of Audi, want to throw this out there before we wrap up. Some people, there's rumors that Audi might be, or Volkswagen Group might be looking to sell the Audi team.
Already?
Because they're really struggling financially. Just with different layoffs, and people are calling for the team to be sold. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Audi has, invested too much already. Also, who would you sell it to? I mean, I guess you could sell it. There's the argument of selling it to BYD. That would be really sad, though, because I was looking forward to Audi. I think they have a great future ahead of them.
Yeah.
And I was excited for them to continue to develop their engine, continue to develop their team. They came out with a very creative car design this year that's doing very well. It's not bad. It's not a bad car. It's definitely a top midfield car. And it would be sad to see them exit so soon.
It would. Especially, I mean, they have racing cars racing in a whole bunch of different formats.
Yep.
So would they have to stop all of them? I mean,
right.
They're putting money into a whole bunch of different areas.
Yep.
So I don't see why just Formula One, and especially if they do well in the Constructors' Cup and get money from that.
Yeah.
That's going to offset any additional money that they need to put into the team.
It's true. It's true.
So if they start doing well, it could pay for itself.
Yep. Keep jumping up the order. And I think, yeah, I agree. So I don't think that they should sell the team. It's too enticing for Formula One to have another works team as well.
Yeah.
To be a part of the grid. It doesn't make sense to me. But I thought that was interesting, though.
Right. And
a little bit of a conspiracy there.
A little bit, but also, too, on top of that now, just thinking about it a little bit more, if you get up higher in the standings, you're going to get more and more sponsors.
You are.
And then now you don't really need to put too much money into your team.
Yeah, because you got people paying you millions of dollars to put their logo on the car.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that all on top of that, it's because you are a sole owner of the team, you're a works team, that is way more enticing, in my opinion, to advertisers and to brands.
Absolutely.
Because they know that you are everything goes through you. It's not through some other corporation or anything like that. So that's really cool. All right, Dan, anything else that you want to talk about today?
Well, I think that we covered pretty much everything. Next week's an off week, then Monza.
That's right.
And then we'll make predictions next week. Let you know.
Yes.
We kind of got to go through the predictions we had for
for this race,
Zandvoort.
That's right.
I was off. I had the right team, wrong driver, but I'll take that as a 50% win.
Yep. And I had Lewis winning, and that didn't happen, which is okay. But I did kind of get a little bit right of George doing better.
Yeah.
In the sprint, and then obviously getting P3. So that's cool. I also think I said that he was going to win one of them, but that was cool. Cool to see George doing better. I like that. I like to see a competitive George. So yeah, I think we had a little bit right, but pretty off.
Yeah, a little bit off. We'll get it next time.
And that's okay. That's all.
right.
That's all part of the corner, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think that this is week 7.
Week 7.
Wow, what a time!
Only 300 more to go.
Only 300 more to go. Yeah, before. Oh my gosh, if we're at 300, that'll be in 5 years. So they'll be potentially on the V8 engines by that time.
Oh, that would be good.
That'll be a lot to talk about.
Yes.
All right. Well, better stay tuned for the next 300 episodes then.
That's right.
But before we talk about the V8s.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Stay safe.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Stay crazy, race fans. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.